generally, I would consider myself a fairly rational person, fairly level-headed, normal thinking kind of person. But what I just want to have a little conversation with about just now is I have what some people might call hippie beliefs. What some people would think is just like, oh, that's nonsense, and some people think, oh, that's not nearly hippie enough. When I say hippie beliefs, I mean stuff which is a bit more out there. Don't know how to describe it, but okay. So I'll go through them. I think I've got 6 or 7 beliefs. I've even written them down for you, especially. So one of the beliefs that I have is that mental stress very effectively can manifest itself physiologically or physically within and on top of your body. So in other words, if you have stress of some sort of your life, you can develop eczema. I got psoriasis for a while. I got it on my elbows. I think I've got a little bit under my eye every so often, and that sometimes with stress. For me, my back pain caused me pain, causing stress with I'm not able to be as great a dad as I want to be because I can't lift and play with my son. And just the stress of that manifests itself externally on me. But I also believe that it can manifest itself internally. So people will suffer a lot of bad stress. So stress where they have no control over stuff in their life, like stuff with work or external stuff. Like good stress is like exercise, or the stress of having to do a big event of some sort of stuff. But bad stress is stress where you've got something to do but you have no control over it, or it's just pressure on you. And I do believe that a lot of people say, oh, cancer, stress causes cancer and all that, and I kind of think it can definitely be an additional factor, an additional confounding thing which can make your life a little bit more crap. So yeah, and I suppose all this hippie stuff I've got is all kind of round about stress and how we deal with stuff in our lives. The next kind of hippie thing I believe in is the idea of mind, not mind over matter, because that's bullshit, but mind over body. Mind over body, the idea. So, for example, the famous, well-known example of mind over body is the story of the mother. We saw her son that was he'd just been run over by a car, and he was under the back wheel, and the mother, a slim little woman, came out and lifted a bloody car off her child. And that's the funny thing is that's considered an internet myth. It's not. It's an actual documented evidence. It was a woman called Evelyn something, I can't remember, and it was back in a time when cars were old. I can't remember. I do your own research, but this woman, Evelyn something, what's her name, physically lifted the car off her child. What you don't hear about the story afterwards is what she did when she did that is she ripped all the tendons in her arms, and she was actually in a body cast, because she had literally gone, Rah! Put the car down, and she just broken everything in her body. So she'd gone to the mental level of going, I'm putting all this effort into my body, I'm going to lift this car, but physically, her body didn't quite survive it quite as well as she had hoped. Her son, I think it was her son or her daughter, survived, but had a broken leg or something like that. But the mother was actually in hospital for longer than the child. And so that's what I did in my university degree in psychology. Is I did research on the effect of suggestion on exercise performance. So in other words, if you are trying to lift a weight, how much more weight or more strength are you able to produce just by having somebody tell you, hey, I'm going to help you out, or oh, it's going to be light, or oh, I'm going to do all these kind of things. And that it's called neural disinhibition. So effectively inside our head, it's constantly telling us, don't do too much because we need to keep a reserve of energy, we need to keep reserves, we need to make sure that you don't hurt yourself, so we just don't do stuff. So if you got to somebody, like, the reason why I got into that idea was there was a magic show by Uri Geller, and he would get 4 people out of the audience, and you may have done this yourself, and you'd get a larger person out of the audience to sit in a chair, and you'd get everyone to go single fingers, one would go under the armpit, one would go under the other armpit, one would go under a leg, a knee pit, whatever you want to call it, and they would go, right, try and lift this person up. And obviously, not going to happen. Then they would do this little magic trick where they put their hands above the person's head. So all of you, I advise trying this out the next time you've got some friends around. Put the hands above your head, and you give all these magic words, and then the people go in and go, yoink, and lift the person off the chair, off the ground, almost instantaneously. And it's a real kind of like, what the hell just happened there? I even did that with myself. When I was at school, I was one of the fat kids, and one lunchtime I got a whole bunch of other people to do it on me. And the first try to do it, you're like, yeah, your fingers in my armpits, it's not working. And then I told them to put their hands above my head, told them all the magic words, and then lo and behold, they fully lifted me off the chair. I was like, wow, it's amazing. And what that was is effectively the first time the people put their hands above, the first time you're telling them, okay, give it a try, you know, don't hurt yourself, it's not going to be possible, but let's just show for example. So your brain is constantly putting out lots of neural inhibition. No, it's putting out lots of inhibiting factors. So you're like, oh, so your body's like not even going near its potential. And then what you do is you put your hands above the person's head and you say, you imagine there's a light going into the person, that the person's getting nice and light, and they are going to be lifted up and they're going to be easy, and you're just going to pop them up off the ground. So you're developing a psychological pathway where people are kind of going, yeah, this will be easy, I'm not in any danger whatsoever. And even without putting more effort in, the body's just able to do vastly more work to the shock of everyone around. And that's what I did, and I thought that was kind of cool. So yeah, mind over body situations is another thing. I believe. I suppose you even need to believe in that because it's just a thing. Another thing. My family's got an idea of recharging your Highland batteries. So you may have seen one of my videos in the past. I've got my parents have got a house up in the Highlands, and I love it. It's like lovely trees. There's hills. There's lakes, lochs, if you call it in Scotland, and it's good just to get up there and just tune out, turn off, zone out. Where I can't remember the phrase. And you just like there'd be times when I go up in springtime and all the birds are tweeting away. And for like days afterwards, I'll have dreams of all the little birds tweeting away. I just have that in my head, just kind of feeling it. And I kind of get the impression that living a modern life in a city, working, driving, pollution, blah, 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 watching computer screens, watching TVs, all that kind of stuff, emails, that can be a form of just general level of stress that you have to deal with. And just sometimes just going up somewhere, no phone, no internet access, just listening to birds tweet, listening to the wind, and I have a total hippie kind of moment where I'm like, oh, just soak this up. And I feel that us as humans, we need to get that every so often. Even if you've been a total city person, that you've got to just like go out, eyes open, look at green fields, green hills and nature and water and just soak up a little bit of nature every so often. I think that's something which is very beneficial for your life force, if that makes sense. I don't know the vocabulary for it. Be like, I wouldn't say it's spiritual because I'm not religious in any way, so I can't really say spiritual, but there's just like a you're powering up. So I call it my Highland Batteries. I'm like, ooh, powered up, like Dragon Ball Z. Oh, I'm back to being a human again. So yeah, I totally understand why some people just like leave London, leave the city life and go live in the mountains for the rest of their life kind of stuff. I get that. So that's one of the other hippie things. So like your nature batteries, your Highland batteries, you call it your being at one with nature or some crap. I don't know. The other one which kind of goes the same thing is I do barefoot running. or at least when I was able to run before my back exploded. Barefoot running totally, again, got me feeling at one with nature, like feeling all the stones under your feet and feeling the, not just the stones, but you feel the temperature of the ground. Like I'm doing my Vibram 5 fingers, little shoes that look like, in my Vibram shoes, so there's almost no protection whatsoever. Well, there is protection, as in that's going to stop sharp stones hurting you, but you are feeling everything. It's so floppy, and you have to run in a special way. And I think that it's a much more natural way to run, compared to like big squishy trainers. It's not easy, especially if you've grown up in our world where everyone wears shoes and trainers. So going for a run with this is a mind-altering experience, you could call. But I do believe that just like when you're running through mud and then grass and then stones and then concrete and then maybe through water and just feeling all, I just have such a hippie moment of going, I'm at one with nature. It's amazing. So I think sometimes being connected, like, was it Einstein as well? He never wore shoes or socks or something. He's always barefoot something. It makes you a genius some way, I don't know. The next hippie kind of thing that I've got is, so I am not a religious person. I'm not really, I don't know if you could be spiritual and not be religious. I'm not too sure, but I do have a feeling of fate, or determinism is probably the best way to describe my concept, my feelings around life. I think it's a tough one. It's very difficult to explain things that you don't know how to explain. So determinism is the belief that pretty much everything you do has already been done. It's you don't necessarily it's a weird one. You don't necessarily have control of your life. Like we're all born, we're all in the lottery of life, and where we start off in life is we don't have any choice in that whatsoever. And I think potentially a lot of time the paths that our lives follow are already pre-laid out, and everything that we do has a purpose, but it's already been mapped out for us. Additionally, I also get the impression that if things were to be changed, like let's say you were to go back in time and kill Adolf Hitler, something like that, it wouldn't change the world. It wouldn't change anything. I believe that if somebody killed Hitler, somebody else would have taken his place and the same events would have happened in time. It's almost the opposite of the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is you travel back in time and you stand on a moth during the dinosaur age. Suddenly you come back to this world and it's like, oh my god, everything is different, there's spaceships and there's aliens, oh no. That's the butterfly effect, where one tiny change causes like a chaos effect all the way through time, and then it's completely different in your own time. My determinism belief is the complete opposite. You go back, you stamp on stuff, you kill some flowers, kill some bugs, kill a dinosaur, come back in the future, it's exactly the same. Nothing's changed. The path of time is just kind of wobbling around the same path, is kind of what I think. So it's a weird one and a difficult one, something which I need to kind of think about myself a bit more, really get my own understanding a little bit about it. And then, okay, here's the next one, which is an interesting one, is when I lived in Japan for a wee while. Now I met a minister for a religion out in Japan. A very not unpopular, but very few people know about it. There's only about 5 million people in the world that even know it. It's called Tenri-kyo, and Kim and I went to their big temple in Japan, and we got taught all the history and the stories and all that kind of stuff. And I thought, brilliant! I thought this is great advice. This religion, and we had a total amazing moment when we had to go to morning prayers, and it was like 4 a.m. We all got out a little bus. We're going towards the biggest wooden temple in the world that's not got any metal in it whatsoever. as we're walking to it, suddenly it starts raining and then lightning strikes. We're like, oh my god, this is so cool! We have to run into it before we get drenched in water, and everyone's praying to something in the middle of the building. Oh, it was cool. It was cool. Anyway, and one of their ideas in this religion, this philosophy, this idea, is that we don't own our bodies. We rent our bodies. The only things that we have that are our own is our mind and what we do in life. And they advocate, they promote the idea that to have a good life you should be nice. Their idea is the joyous life. So just like go out, be friendly, learn things, do music, make films, do art, learn languages, travel the world. It's like very pro, go do cool stuff. And it's the idea that don't take your body for granted, because you're just renting it for as many years as you're around for. And you should be taking care of your body, because you're effectively rent it for a while and then you give it back to nature, kind of thing. I just think that was quite cool. So the idea that we are renting our body, which kind of goes back into the point which I had before about the kind of what was it, the Highland Batteries or something? No, the Determinism, where we don't get to choose who we are when we're born, or where we're born, or who our parents are. And yeah, so I just get this idea that there is a kind of, we are just renting the bodies that we're in. I don't know, it's possibly nonsense. And the last one, which again kind of goes, they're all roughly the same thing. This is one that I have a strong belief that I'm not important. So quite contradictory to what many people would think about themselves, where so many people believe that they are special individual snowflakes and every single person is the most important person in the whole entire world. And I have a opposite reaction to that, which is going, I'm not important. I'm like, to me I'm very important. To my wife I'm very important. To my 2-year-old son, I am the most important thing in the world, obviously. But in the grand scheme of things, I fully respect that. Nah, I'm not important. If you watch enough sci-fi films and it's like suddenly, spaceship's going to crash, we need to save people off the spaceship. I'm like, I want to be saved, but I understand the captain and the doctors and the engineers, they're probably more important than just a guy that takes some photos. So it's kind of a realization or acceptance that I'm not a snowflake. Which, yeah, so I suppose some hippie, the opposite hippie idea was like, no, we are so special, everyone's totally individual, you are the most important thing in the world. And I'm just like, nah, I'm not really that important. I'm not, it doesn't really matter that way. So yeah, so that was my hippie beliefs, my nonsense beliefs that you could call it. So it's just like stress manifests itself physically. Mind over body is a real thing regarding strength or even pain. Your Highland Batteries, some people might call it your spiritual batteries or something like that. Barefoot running, great. Fate or determinism, we rent our bodies and that we're not important. So that, my friends, is my hippie beliefs. What are yours? Let me know what yours are. Even do a video, let me know what they are. Be interested to hear what your non-rational thoughts are. Cheers, bye bye.